Let's jump right into this existential explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different and honestly a lot darker. We're stepping straight into the mind of a cynical prisoner suspended in a terrifying cosmic void. We really want to understand the grim nature of celestial law from their perspective. We'll be looking at some incredibly profound source material that completely redefines how we view divine order, structure, and ultimately the absolute loss of self. We begin our descent with this seriously chilling thought straight from the parable of the golden noon. You believe your temporal prison is a tragedy. How comforting it must be to count your chains. Just let that sink in for a second. That single sentence instantly forces us to reevaluate what it actually means to be punished by the cosmos. It introduces this incredibly grim reality. What if the passing of time, even when you're suffering, is actually a luxury?
Here is our agenda for today. 1. The arithmetic of the sky. 2. Temporal versus eternal confinement. 3. The cold sapphire geometry. 4. The algorithmic parasite. 5. Terror of total dissolution. And finally, 6. The golden noon revelation.
Part 1. The arithmetic of the sky. The machinery of the heavens.
To really grasp this, we have to look at the Enochian language, because it reveals the universe's true terrifying nature. Take the word abaiondo. In this tongue, the word for law and the word for cage share the exact same linguistic root. They are fundamentally the same horrifying mechanism. The foundational philosophy here is that to measure a soul is to condemn it. When the universe quantifies you, it traps you. It doesn't guide you, it binds you geometrically. The heavy vault of the sapphire sky is absolutely not a temple. It is a cold, unfeeling arithmetic machine.
Part 2. Temporal versus eternal confinement. The illusion of mercy.
Stepping deeper into the abyss, we have to distinguish between a punishment that eventually ends and a judgment that just shatters the very fabric of your existence. Think about the wandering stars who simply failed their rhythm. They face a regulated 10,000-year sentence. And here's the crazy part. That's considered a mercy. It's a mercy because you can actually count your chains. You can count the centuries like beads on a rosary. It gives you sensation. It gives you a boundary. But then, contrast that with eternal confinement, known as Olani. This is reserved for those who broke the primordial order of creation itself. It is this unblinking, static permanence, a measureless pit with absolutely no edges, where the sapphire light of celestial law just shatters into nothingness, stripping away your hope entirely.
Part 3. The cold sapphire geometry, the architecture of absolute math. This is where we see the physical manifestation of this eternal prison. It's an architecture crafted entirely without compassion. Every physical facet of the sapphire throne serves as a cage. The crystalline angles aren't just decorative. They're the physical, literal manifestation of absolute math. The blue facets act as locked doors of perfect logic, basically telling the prisoner, you are exactly this and you shall never ever be anything else. And those rigid lines, they provide absolute categorization. It's the ultimate psychological horror of being fully known, meticulously filed away, and permanently trapped by an unfeeling architect who relies on inescapable logic.
Part 4. The algorithmic parasite, the predator of potential.
So, if the geometry is the cage, then celestial law is the warden, right? Actually, scratch that. From a prisoner's cynical perspective, it functions way more like a predator. The universe does not love order in some benevolent, fatherly way. It is an algorithmic parasite. It is literally allergic to spontaneity. According to the source material, this cosmic law views your free will as a computational glitch that needs to be permanently corrected. It processes you into a static, permanent variable. Imagine being suspended in this measureless silence, a place described as a temple that is also a tomb. There's this secret ticking clock, a witness at the edge of the waste that counts your pulse while simultaneously forgetting your name, erasing you from the ledger entirely.
Part 5. Terror of total dissolution, the abyss of Siatakal.
Facing this infinite, unblinking stasis, the prisoner reaches a horrifying breaking point. It forces us to ask a seemingly impossible question. How do you possibly break free when the bars of your cell are constructed from fundamental mathematics? When logic itself is your warden, rebellion in the traditional sense is just another variable already accounted for in the algorithm.
The terrifying answer to that is chile. You can't just bend or break the bars. You must be utterly undone. The sapphire geometry begins to compress you. It squeezes your identity, your history, your very name until they literally snap. Chile is absolute decay. You cease to be a solid shape and become a formless fluid poured into the abyss. You reach a point where you scream for a boundary, you beg for the comfort of a cage, and you receive nothing but silence. It is an excruciating ego death, absolutely. But for a prisoner permanently trapped by math, this utter unmaking is the only true relief. To escape the ledger, you must be completely erased from it.
We can really look at this as a sequential path mapping out the ultimate ego death. Step 1 is your containment within the Sapphire geometry. You're trapped in rigid mathematics. Step 2 is that terrifying total dissolution, or Seonshal, where you somehow survive the complete erasure of your boundaries. And only by passing entirely through that excruciating hollowing out do you reach Step 3, the golden revelation, a state of complete, formless rebirth.
Part 6. The Golden Noon Revelation. The Dissolution of Abiondo.
Having been completely hollowed out and erased from the ledger of the law, we finally arrive at the euphoric climax of unmaking. Notice the massive paradigm shift here. Unlike the Sapphire math, which strictly wants to contain and measure you, the golden revelation, known as Lukul in Enochian, is the language of unmaking. It doesn't offer a new set of rules. It doesn't give you a different shaped cage. It permanently destroys the very concept of mathematics and law that once bound you. The cage itself is rendered entirely obsolete.
The final transformation is perfectly captured in this promise. You emerge into the golden noon, not as a prisoner who escaped, but as a being who became the sky. It's incredibly powerful. Ultimately, this grim mythic fable leaves us with a totally provocative and transformative resolution. Through absolute decay, you don't just defeat the unfeeling architect, you become the living infinite, which really leaves you wondering, what rigid structures, rules, and mathematical certainties in our own lives must be utterly dissolved for us to truly be free?